Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of A Dose of Halloween. Hi guys, hopefully you guys like that little intro. Thought I'd just change it up, make it a little bit more spooky. So I thought I would have some one-on-one with you guys and get to talk about some of my favorite horror movies that I enjoy to watch on Halloween, not on Halloween, but these are some really great ones that you should definitely check out. You probably know of some, you probably don't know any of them, which is great. Definitely worth checking out. So let us get started. I'm excited. So the first movie I thought I would talk about is a movie called The Shed. This movie is actually on Shudder, and it's a phenomenal movie. A vampire in it. It's a vampire movie, and it's definitely worth checking out. I love that the vampire is not the center of the film, and that it really keeps you engaged in this movie and really caring about these characters. Kind of a forewarning, there is a scene where a dog dies. So if you don't like that stuff, skip it when it comes to it, or just don't watch it. This film, I have recommended it to people. When people ask me, that's like one of the things on the list of movies that I tell them that they need to watch. The next movie is actually called Host, and this movie is kind of a newer movie that's on Shudder. It is actually dealing with kind of today's, what's going on right now in the world with the pandemic. And this is a movie that deals with the supernatural coming in through a Zoom call between, I believe it's 5 or 6 people in it. And the way that everything happens is just through Zoom. And you see everything going on through the Zoom camera. And it's so phenomenal. There's a lot of jump scares in this movie. I think I jumped quite a bit during this. But I definitely recommend it. It's a great movie. And it's definitely relatable with what's going on right now with COVID and being quarantined and all that. So that's a really great movie to watch. The third movie that I have on my list is Lake of Death. Lake of Death is pretty much about this girl, Lillian, who goes back with some of her friends to this cabin by a lake where her twin brother died. And during the time that her and her friends are there, really bizarre and strange things start happening. I remember watching it and being confused in the beginning because I had no idea what was going on, how this was all gonna come forth. But the ending still puzzled me to an extent, but I kind of understood it. But I will understand if you are at all confused by the end of it. It's a little bit hard to understand the ending, but if you think more in depth about it, you can kind of understand and get the gist of it. This next movie is called Scare Package. This movie, the first time I watched it, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And this movie was absolutely so much fun to watch. It had scares, it had laughs. The whole story came together. And it was just like one big, enjoyable treat to watch. That's the best way to say it. Pretty much, from what it's saying on here, Scare Package is a 2020 anthology horror film, and it features a series of horror shorts that are actually written by different directors, and they each do their own little short brilliantly. And it's just, there's some that are so amazing and great, there are some that are funny, and you just love this. I mean, when you watch it, it's something that I think I told one of my friends they had to watch it first because it was just outstanding. It's so good. Definitely on the top of my list of things that you should go and check out. This next movie is called Night of the Living Deb. Now, this is a spoof off of Night of the Living Dead, but this movie is pretty much a horror comedy spoof all the way through. Cracking up and laughing like 95% of the time during this movie. It was just so funny. It was done great. The actors are amazing, and I think I loved Deb's best friend. She just like nailed it each time. And she doesn't have a large part, but even just like the first 2 minutes in this film, she was just like my favorite character. Night of the Living Deb is definitely a movie worth checking out. Definitely, if you're not in the horror, like scary, like I don't want to be scared right now, definitely a movie to check out if you want a good laugh. This next movie is called House. I actually learned about House through VHS podcast, and I remember going into it not knowing anything about it. I remember I had seen posters for it and like the VHS tape covers of it, but it looked so scary. I was like, no, I'm not gonna watch it. But it is a great, great movie. Definitely highly recommend watching it. It's a 4-part movie. House it says that it is a horror comedy. I mean, yes it is. I think it's still scary. But there are some good moments in there that can give you a little bit of a laugh. This actually stars William Catt, who no one knows who that is. He was original film of Carrie, and he played Tommy. I kept watching the movie and I kept thinking, I know this guy from somewhere. And it didn't dawn on me until at one point I had to just look it up, and I realized that he was in Carrie. But he plays a character named Roger Cobb, who it says he's a troubled writer who moves into a haunted house after inheriting it from his aunt. There are some really crazy things that happen in that house. But it's so good. It's definitely one to check out. It's 1985. And so if you're not so fond of like that kind of genre film, then sorry. It's just still so fun and great to watch. The next movie is Night of the Demons. Now, Night of the Demons, I actually have a poster that hangs above my couch over here. That is a movie that I really enjoyed. It's definitely got that spooky element to it, and it takes place actually on Halloween. This movie, I believe I found, I believe it was on Shudder, if I'm correct. It was either Shudder or on YouTube. Some of these films I find either for free on YouTube or I find them on Shudder. But this is 10 teenagers have a party at an abandoned funeral parlor on Halloween. And then a evil force awakens. Demonic spirits keep them from leaving and turning their gathering into a living hell. And this film, I'm not quite sure how I found out about it, but I just remember enjoying it, and it was definitely pretty spooky, but the effects and the makeup and the chemistry between the characters was just perfect and great. It's actually a 4-part film, which I didn't even realize. It's it's a comedy horror franchise that consists of 4 films. So Night of the Demons, definitely check it out. Next one that I'm recommending is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yes, I'm definitely recommending this film. So, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I remember seeing the poster for it at Blockbuster. I remember seeing the VHS tapes of it. And back when I was younger, I hated clowns, and so I would never want to touch it. And finally, I got someone to convince me to watch it. And I was actually really glad I did. It's definitely a really crazy, cheesy, funny, enjoyable, silly film. It's just crazy. I mean, it's iconic, but at the same time, you're kind of like, holy shit. If you don't like clowns, I'm really sorry to stay away from this film. But hopefully, like myself, who got his fear over clowns from watching this, definitely take a look at it and watch it, because you won't be sorry. We're going to move on to another very well-known movie, Scream. This film, I have watched so many times on YouTube, and I watched scenes, and I watched on TV, and people play it at Halloween parties all the time. And it's a really just, I mean, once you've watched it, you just enjoy it so much. And it's just, again, a really classic. And of course, what's your favorite scary movie? I mean, everybody says it nowadays, so it's very iconic. Moving on. We're moving on down this list. I'm gonna put the movies in the description too, and somewhere over here probably I will post the poster of it with the title of the movie, so that you guys know what to look for if you're interested in it. So, moving on. This next movie is called Brain Damage. I found out from VHS Podcast, and the first time I watched it, I wasn't fascinated by it. It was very creepy and disturbing, and I almost couldn't even stomach it. There were just some points where I was like, ooh, nope, I know it's like really not the greatest effects, but it just was a little too much. But the second time I watched it, I thought this was a crazy, interesting, the weirdest film ever. You just have like this possessed evil brain that just takes over this guy. And I mean, it's so hard to even describe or anything, but I definitely recommend checking it out. And it's just so weird. It's just kind of gross, but I don't know. Some people may like that. Who knows? Possessed talking brains. Sounds interesting. Next movie is the very one and only classic, Halloween. I love the one from 2018, and I love the original. And I love some of the other films that they have, and the Rob Zombie versions too are pretty interesting. But I feel like the original one stood out for me the most, because I remember watching it on TV, on Halloween, on my couch. And the music, I mean the theme music to this movie scared the living hell out of me. I remember being so scared to even go up the stairs to my bedroom. That's how scared I was from watching this movie. and it just always terrified me as a kid to watch it. Now I can handle it. There's something really not as terrifying now as an adult to listening to it and hearing it and watching the films too. I can handle watching them now. I'm not as freaked out anymore. So I would have to say go check out Halloween, the original one, or the other ones in the franchise if you want, or the Rob Zombie ones. Not opposed to those. But also the 2018 one. Next movie I came across when I was on Shudder. And this movie was very interestingly well done. The main kind of point is that this girl wakes up from, I guess, being drugged or something, and she's pretty much attached. She's been sewn together from two other people. They're like now sewn onto her. So she has kind of like a Frankenstein-esque monster kind of look to her. But it actually has James Phillip from the Harry Potter series, who played one of the Weasley twins. And I thought he was really good in it, and it was really cute to see him in there. But the three other actresses, Jennifer, Ellie, and Madeline, brilliantly done. The chemistry they had together with being stuck together and how it would actually feel, and kind of like being in each other's heads, and who's making choices, who's following what's going on. It was so great. I loved it. I mean, you just really believe these characters. And that's where you know you're going to enjoy, hopefully, a movie like that. Is when you really believe in them from almost the beginning of this film. And then there's a plot twist at the end of this film. And I was not ready for it. And I was almost kind of pissed. But it's so well done. It's so amazing. Definitely worth checking out. So this next movie is called Body Bags. This movie I came across on Shudder. Alright, so Body Bags is a 1993 horror slasher film. And this actually has John Carpenter in it. And it was a really fun movie to watch, and watch his kind of comedy with being in it. And there's 3 different tales that are in it, and each one is just still very fascinating. You almost learn a lesson with it, and it's really interesting to watch. And I haven't seen it for a while, so my brain's a little hazy on it, but definitely worth checking out. It is still on Shudder, and so if you want to subscribe to Shudder, you guys should, and then you can watch it. So the next one is Gingersnaps. Now, Gingersnaps I got recommended by a friend, and this movie I knew that it was a werewolf film, and I didn't know how they were going to do it, because a lot of werewolf films, sometimes they always do it the same way, and blah blah blah. And this one was just very interesting. It's with 2 sisters, and one of them gets attacked by a werewolf, and the whole way that everything starts to unravel is just so fascinating to watch, and how this one sister is just really trying to keep her other sister, Ginger, together and not kill people. The connection that they have as sisters in this film, and how one is really trying to keep everything together and not make her sister eat everybody. After I watched it, I realized that there was another one, and I believe there's a 3rd film too. that I haven't watched yet, and I still have to get onto that. But I definitely recommend watching Gingersnaps. The next film is Hellhouse LLC. Hellhouse was a film that I found, it's a trilogy film, and I found this movie on Shudder, and I watched it, and the very first few minutes of it, I thought this was an actual, like, event that actually had happened, and they had this video on YouTube of everything that was going on, and I started freaking out, and I was like, I have to find out if this is a real thing that really happened, because I was so convinced that it was. Only to realize they had just used me putting a video on YouTube to make it look more realistic. But this movie is shot so fascinating. Lot of jump scares through this, the second, and the third film, but definitely worth watching. I would recommend doing the first one, watching the second one, but the second one's a little bit meh, and then watching the third one. Because I think the third one is a little bit more like the first one. Has a little bit more of that element in it. This next movie, I can't remember how I found out about it, how I stumbled across it. I think I heard about it on social media somehow. And this movie was very, I don't even know how to really say it. It was beautifully done. It was just you felt like you went on this journey with these two people, and you just felt like you were a part of this group. And the ending is really upsetting and sad, but it is a very great movie to watch. I am, like, hands down recommending this film, even if it's like the first film that you even decide to watch. It's beautiful. It's Boys in the Trees is, I've watched, it's on YouTube, you can watch it for free on YouTube. And I mean, I've watched it over and over and over. Super highly recommend watching Boys in the Trees. Fright Night, but we're talking about the 1985 one, not the more recent one. Although I did enjoy that one. That one was pretty good. Fright Night is such a classic movie. And I remember that one being recommended to me too. And it's just so great. I mean, iconic lines and iconic moments. Next film that I have on this list is Trick or Treat. And this movie, I remember seeing again VHSs in Blockbuster for it, and it looked kind of creepy. Was like, okay, I'm still young, I'm gonna stay away from it. And I just thought it was so fascinating. And now I'm just obsessed. I mean, I have right now Trick or Treat. I don't know if you can see it, but I have Trick or Treat sweatpants on right now. So, yeah. So now I'm just pretty much obsessed with it. My turtles have little window stickers of Trick or Treat on them to get in the Halloween spirit. The storytelling is just so well done, and you're just really enveloped in it. And, ooh, that kind of sounds dirty. And then of course there's the iconic character Sam. Trick or Treat is a great fun film to watch, especially on Halloween, and hopefully maybe you'll get into the whole spirit and get obsessed with it. Who knows? And then you'll buy sweatpants that have Trick or Treat designs on them. Who knows? So this next film is called Hell Night. And this movie I watched I think one time, and I mean, it's a great film, but it says the movie depicts a night of fraternity hazing set in an old manor, in which a deformed killer terrorizes and murders many of the college students. Intensely scary for me. And I remember being like on the edge of my seat watching this, and I just was like scared. And there were some pretty not super gory moments, but I think it was just that suspenseful moment that really hits you in this film. I think that's what I was mostly in, was the suspense of it. Alright, so this next movie, I love it so much. The Old Dark House. This movie is perfect for Halloween, perfect for even just a rainy, dark night. And this movie has Boris Karloff in it. And this movie, I actually don't remember how I found out about it. I stumbled across it and on a whim just decided to watch it. And I love this movie so much. I can rewatch this movie all the time. It is suspenseful. It's pretty scary at points. I love this movie so much. I found the vinyl of it. And I don't know if you can see it. But this movie was just so amazing, so creepy, so eerie, and I've recommended it to people. I mean, it is a black and white film, and if that's not your thing, then you're who are you? It's definitely worth checking out, even if you don't like black and white films. Part of this movie and just the action and everything that's going on, and it's just, you feel for these characters too. I feel like that's another big thing, is you really feel for these characters too, in what they do, what they're saying, their reasoning behind why they're doing these things. It's such a good movie. At the top of your list to do is just watch this movie. So we're getting down to the last two movies. So this next movie that I'm gonna talk about is a movie that I came across from Shudder, and this movie is called Fade to Black. And this movie was absolutely a joy to watch. It has Dennis Christopher in it, who plays Eric Binford. And he pretty much, it's interesting to watch how his brain starts to work and how things start to trigger him. And he kind of brings back some of the homage to the old-time OG horror monsters. But it's just so fascinating to watch everything just unravel and just turn into crazy, complete chaos by the end of this film. So, it's a 1980s film, but it's definitely worth watching if you love the kind of old-time horror monsters. It's just such a fun movie to watch and just feel for this character in some ways. So, The Howling. I didn't know if I was gonna include it or include something else. I mean, I could include a whole bunch of movies, but I wanted to choose movies that people have not heard of, people were not as aware of, and kind of try and bring light to some movies that are new for people. Because we've all heard of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, they're classics, they're great, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to include stuff on this list that people had never heard of. Like, I think that's what's great for me, is getting to search Shudder, social media, people who know a lot more of horror, and finding new movies to watch that I had never known about. So this last movie is The Howling, and it is another werewolf movie. And it's just such a... This one was recommended to me, along with Gingersnaps. But this was another movie that was definitely worth watching, and I definitely enjoyed it. And it's definitely a really crazy, interesting werewolf film to watch. If you do like werewolves, this is probably right up there of werewolf movies to watch. And with that, my friends, that is my list of horror movies to watch. If you want to, you can totally take my advice and watch some of them on Halloween if you have nothing else to do. Otherwise, find time to watch these movies. Definitely subscribe to Shudder and watch some of these movies. Definitely go on social media and find horror fans and find out movies that they're watching. I mean, there are people that know a lot more films out there that you can just be devouring, so to speak. So thank you guys so much, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I thought it would be just nice to have a little one-on-one kind of thing with us. And hopefully you guys will check out some of these films. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the next episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. In the comments, what's your favorite scary movie? Or is there a movie from this list that you didn't know about or that sounded interesting to you? So definitely check these out, and stay safe and stay spooky. See you guys.